Hello everyone, welcome to lesson 6-5. We're going to continue working with more two-step equations. This lesson is found on page 481. Okay, let's look at the real world link. Museums. A new exhibit about dinosaurs is being constructed. The exhibit is a rectangle that is 36 feet long. You see right there. It has a perimeter of 114 feet. Follow the steps to write an equation that can be used to find the width of the museum's exhibit. So we know that it's 36. That means this side will also be 36, right? And we have the value of W. But we know the entire perimeter, the entire distance around the outside is 114 feet. So first draw a diagram to help visualize the exhibit. Here it is. Label the length and width. Let W represent the width. There it is, and there's our length. Okay, step 2, write an expression that represents the sum of the length, okay, the sum of the length and width of the exhibit, so 36 plus W. Step 3, write an expression that represents twice the sum of the length and the width. Now they're asking us for twice because there's a 36 here and obviously a 36 across the top. A width here and a width here. So it's twice. It's this 2 times and the width 2 times. So essentially it's this value, both of them multiplied times 2. So I can write it as 2 times parentheses 36 plus n. Because there are W. Because there are 2 of these. I used a different color so that you can see that this entire thing is considered an expression, okay, the value, and we're going to double it. So it's 2 of 36 plus W. Now it's step 4, write an equation that represents the perimeter of the exhibit. Now we were told that the perimeter is 114. So this equals 114. So 36 plus W, okay, 32 of them, you see, equals 114. And there's our expression, and this is our equation for the perimeter. Okay, so the key, or the main concept, is right here of this lesson. An equation like 2W plus 36 equals 114 is in the form of P parentheses X plus Q equals R. Now these are all variables, okay? Don't get misled or confused by the variables. All we mean by this is that each one of these letters will represent a different number. It contains 2 factors, P and X plus Q, right? The information in the parentheses, the number of time the P will tell us. And it's considered a two-step equation. Solve these equations using the properties of equality. So here we have example 1, where we have 3 times x plus 5 equals 45. Now remember, what we're implying here is that this value is repeated 3 times to give us 45. I think a lot of you can see that if you add a number to 5 and then multiply it by 3 will give 45. What number could you add to 5 that later you can multiply to 3? If you said 10, you're correct. 10 plus 5 is 15, and 15 times 3 is 45. When solving, remember to work backwards from PEMDAS. Undo everything that PEMDAS would tell you to do. So, for example, in PEMDAS you have to do the parentheses first and then multiplication, correct? Well, let's work backwards from PEMDAS and let's take away the multiplication that we have to do later on. Take it away by dividing the 3 out. So you divide the 3 out and you divide the 3 out from the side. Because whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other side. So you divide it out and there's no longer a 3 right there, right? Now it's x plus 5, as you see. And 45 divided by 3 is 15. And now we have to subtract the 5 out, because the next one will be adding the 5. So now let's subtract the 5 out. We subtracted, and as we subtracted we get 10, so x equals 10. And you see? Look at example 2 as well, and please go right through it. It is essentially the same thing, except now we're, instead of subtracting a number out, because the number is being subtracted, we're going to actually add it. So doing the opposite. Go ahead and look at these steps. Okay, I hope you're feeling ready to do questions A to C. Please pause the video, try it on your own, and then watch how I do it. Please pause. Okay, the first thing I will do is divide the 2 out. So I'm going to divide the 2, so it cancels it out. But if I do it on that side of the equation, I must do it on this side. So now I am left with x plus 4 equals 10, correct? So 20 divided by 2 is 10, and 2 divided by 2 is 1, but we don't write the 1. We just simply, they cancel each other out, and now I have x plus 4, because there's only one of them, right? So we don't have to write the 1. Okay, and now I will subtract the 4 out. So I will subtract 4, which I have to do this side as well. Gives me 6 and x. Okay, because these two will cancel each other out. So x equals 6. And it makes sense. If I replace the x with 6, 6 plus 4 is 10. Times 2 is 20. Okay, let's divide out the 3 from one side and from the other side as well. So that will cancel out. This side will become 4. So now I just have b minus 6 equals 4. Okay, now let's add 6 so it gets canceled out. And when I add 6 to this side, okay, when I add 6, it will become 10. Sorry, I meant to say plus 6 right there. But plus 6 is 10. So now that means b equals 10. And let's check. If I replace the 10 here, let's say 10 minus 6 is 4, and 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, let's divide out the negative 7 and the negative 7 on this side as well. So these two cancel each other out. Okay, and I'm left with 6 plus d equals 49 divided by negative 7 is going to be negative 7, right? And now I will subtract 6. Subtract 6 from this side and subtract 6 from this side. Okay, these two cancel out, which leaves me with a d equals, and 7 negatives with 6 negatives equals a total of 13 negatives. Negative 13. So sometimes the factor p in p parentheses x plus q will be a fraction or a decimal. So let's keep that in mind. How do we work with that if this number is a fraction? Well, in the past we've divided out or subtracted out the amount. This time we need to make this number 1, and the only way to take this fraction and turn it into 1 is by finding its multiplicative inverse, which is the same fraction but flipped. So this time we're going to have to, let's say we have our 2/3, right? Well, in order to turn that into 1, we have to multiply it by 3 over 2. Okay? All I've done is flipped it around, which is what we call the multiplicative inverse. 3 times 2 is 6, right? And 2 times 3 is 6. 6 over 6 is 1. And if we turned it into 1, now we have worked it out. Now we don't need it anymore because then we're saying there's only 1. So in order to remove the 2 over 3 so that we can try to isolate the n, we have to multiply by its multiplicative inverse. And whatever you do to one side of the equation, you must do to the other side. And you can see that's what they've done in the example. We have our 2/3 parentheses n plus 6 equals 10. But now we're going to multiply it by its inverse. You see its multiplicative inverse, 3 over 2 instead of 2 over 3. Multiply it, that becomes 1, but we don't have to put the 1 there because 1 times this is this expression, right? So we leave it as that. But the other side needs to be multiplied. And you know that all whole numbers are over 1, so it's 10 over 1. And we can do some cross-references to simplify where we have 1 and 5, right? They're both divisible by 2. So we've done some cross-reference, and now we simply have 3 times 5, which is 15. And now we have n plus 6 equals 15. Let's subtract out the 6, and whatever you do to this side, you must do to the other side. So now it's 15 minus 6 equals 9. So n is all that's left, so n equals 9. And the same applies with decimals. With decimals, we can just divide them out. Remember, this is being multiplied by decimal 2, so let's divide out the decimal, meaning you have to divide out the negative 10 as well by decimal 2. Okay, and then we add a 3, so we add a 3 to the other side to cancel out this 3. Now we're left with c equals negative 47. If you have any questions, please take a look at this example carefully. Okay, again, I think we're ready to do D, E, and F. Please pause the video, try it on your own, and then play it to see what I've done, or how I've done it. So the first step is to multiply out the fraction by multiplying with its inverse, and whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other side. So this cancels each other out, right? Because 4 times 4 is 4, and 4 times 1 is 4. And 1 times 4 is 4, so that all becomes 1, so that cancels each other out. And then this is placed over 1. Negative 15 times 4 becomes negative 60. Okay, negative 60. Now I have d minus 3 is negative 60. Okay, I'm going to add 3. So I add 3, and this becomes negative 57. And this side, all I have left is my d. E. Let's divide out the 0.75, and as well on this side, divide it out, 0.75. It means these two cancel each other out, and we're left with 6 plus d equals 16. Right? 16. So now I will subtract out the 6, and subtract out the 6. It gives me 10, and this cancels out, so all I'm left is with d equals 10. There's your answer. Okay, now we have t plus 3 times 5/9 equals 40. Let's find the multiplicative inverse and multiply it out. So it's 9 over 5 on this side, and again on this side 9 over 5. Okay. What kind of cross-reference can we do here? We have 1 here with 8 over here, right? So 8 times 9 is 72. Okay. This cancels each other out. So now I have t plus 3 is 72. Subtract the 3, subtract the 3. So that we cancel out, and now I have t equals 69. Okay, I hope you got all those right. Moving on. Okay, let's visit this word problem during class. Please read it over now and make sure that it makes sense to you and how the numbers have been arranged. And I know that you know by now how to do the process, but make sure that you're able to make the connection from the word problem to the equation. So pause the video and look it over carefully. If there's something you still don't understand, please ask me in class. Here's the guide to practice. Please save it for class so we can do it together as a warm-up, and we can do the word problem there as well together. But please complete the entire independent practice, including the bottom and the question on the back. I would like to specifically work on the word problems, but I really want you to try them on your own and see how you do with them. Okay? And then we'll check them in class. See you then.